I think it comes from the concept, or that text was about science, the track probably, and it's really just talking about not just taking elements from a box, a computer, and looping and then treating something and getting it like that, but actually going in and recording a beautiful sounding piano and hearing the breath in the room and the vocals, 4 a.m. or whatever it was, time that I recorded that, and the scratchiness and the rawness of that. And so that is juxtaposed against the pristine quality of a perfect sample, and it's harder to do a record that way. It's harder to do a record where you're having to EQ all of your own stuff and find out what works together and what doesn't. But it was beautiful. I guess that challenge is a really nice thing to do, to find the kick drum that can sit with a piano. It takes a lot of thought to get those sounds right. So much stuff. I mean, everything we listen to has influenced us.
I mean, we have that's one of the first things we actually found out about ourselves, that we have a lot of the same influences musically, and interesting that we went that different directions personally, and so there's all of these things we were talking about actually is in there. If it's Fela Kuti rhythms, or if it's the repetitive nature, maybe. The repetitive nature of Steve Reich or Philip Glass modern classics, or if it's grunge, or if it's new wave a lot, of course.
We didn't really know much about each other. We weren't trying to have some grand plan. Howling was a song that I'd written and recorded in California, and then I sent it to Frank, and he produced what lives on it now, on the record, and it didn't take thought from either of us. It was very intuitive, and when I heard Frank's version that he sent back, I was actually blown away by the restraint that he'd taken with it, and it was one of the first times I'd ever worked with someone, and it was just like, that's amazing. I love it. I wouldn't change anything on that. And from that point, we accidentally had success with that, and then it turned into something where we decided we wanted to make more music together, but there was no plan. We didn't have press pictures. We didn't have label deals and PR, and we just were making music, and so that's how we've treated it for the last couple of years. We got to know each other through the process of making music and being on tour together, and that's how we became closer and closer to like a brothership, I guess. In a band, you become like brothers. So it's taken time, and I think that's strengthened our understanding musically of each other and individually. And first time when we were in a room together, we were supposed to be rehearsing for a show that we were playing in Berlin, and instead we were writing music on his kitchen lounge room floor, and kitchen/lounge room, Berlin apartments. No, and it was one of the first times I'd ever had that experience of could you tune that tom? Could we make that tom melodic? And he's like, yeah, something like this. And I was like, exactly like that. Can we get that? Let's do this. And so we just bounced backwards and forwards, and it was a really freeing process for both of us, I think. I was throwing out a lot of ideas, and Frank was facilitating and then putting another idea on top. So it was this really fluid process, and we kind of came up with 2 songs or 2 concepts for a song in a day or two, and that's when we really decided, or accidentally, intuitively decided that, there's this beautiful working relationship there and we should keep doing it.
It's kind of, I mean, if it's only for us, it would be just like building a home on stage in a way. Like you feel instantly safe, or surrounded by a nice atmosphere, and I guess and hope that for people outside they get better whole image of the whole thing, because we making music is one aspect of what we do, but also we are so into different types of, if it's him directing the movies, the clips, and photography or whatever. It's this all the whole hemisphere of what we're doing, and we actually super happy that we have the children with us, because they're I saw them first, or I saw their work in Trau in Amsterdam and what they did in the club, and then also what they did for Darkside. And I was just amazed by the simplicity and at the same time the beauty of it. So it's like easy, understandable, but it creates a certain very beautiful atmosphere. And that's how I got in contact with them and asked them if they're keen to do something with us. And we're very happy to have them with us.
Yeah, very
It's
happy.
beautiful extension. We're actually very happy about the first couple of shows we've done. For me, it's a bit like new because we had a couple of shows where we played in concert venues, not in clubs. I mean, still clubs and concert venues and festivals, of course, in the summer. But for me, that I'm not really experienced in this kind of venue thing with hard ticket sales, and but it's super exciting, and it's so different to when you play in clubs. So that we actually decided to have almost 2 or 3 different sets or settings for like exactly for the size. And so if you play in the club, you can play more like a constant flow set, and when you're in a concert venue, you can really play the songs as they are, or like let them stand for themselves, you know. And it's challenging, but also very interesting.
Yeah, we talked about it quite a bit. We were trying to, come out with an album title might seem like an easy thing, but it has to hold the whole record. And it was actually like pulling lyrics and pulling kind of parts from the record to try and look at what might suit the whole space. And we both have really deep connections to where we're from and also where we live now. And so that was a big part of it, is like how much the landscapes we were in when we did the record, how much they influenced us. We recorded the album over, I don't know, many different countries, five, 6 different countries. And so there was this concept about like how that was influencing us, and also how important like home and spaces, sacred places are to us. And we talked a lot about like what actually is the ground under Berlin. Found out it was all sand actually, and we, all the rock and shale of California where I'm living, or where I grew up in Australia, and so we started just this idea of the earth, and Sacred Ground was also a lyric pulled from one of the tunes. So, and then a friend of ours, Coco, who's a really cool designer from Vienna, an artist and designer, he came up with this. We were talking on the phone. I was driving in California, and we were talking from Vienna to Cali, and I was kind of talking to him. I was like, like something of the earth, but it's like sacred and special. And he's going, what, like, and I was saying, what about like amber, or what about this, what about that? And he's like, well, crystals. And we're just like, yeah, like they're the earth, but they're compressed into this super sacred, precious thing now. Then we came up with the idea of having a different crystal representing every song on the record. So when you get the vinyl or whatever, you can, they're all kind of corresponding. And so there's a lot of thought that goes into it all, because we love what we're doing, and we, like Frank said, we love all the aspects of art making. Yeah, it's not PR stuff. It's because we want to do it. Everybody else is like, that makes it more expensive, or we're like, but that's how it's got to be. And the videos and everything too. So it's really about just sharing a wider vision and being able to get the whole picture across, show the perspective of everything that we're trying to do. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.